All right, we're all set up. This mic is good to go. Oh, it is strong, isn't it? I'm sorry, I did pour some strong ones. I'm terrible at pouring. Like you get what you get and you don't get upset.
Let me say, if I ever meet you and say I'll pour us a drink, I'll be like, I'll do mine. You do yours.
Say that again. Wait, I need to...
If we ever meet and you say I'll pour us a drink, I'll be like, I'll pour us a drink.
No. We've got a standard now. All right, we're good to go? We are good to... Oh, on air. The on-air light is on.
Nice.
Jeffrey Morgan. It is so damn good to finally be sitting in front of you. Thanks. I am so grateful. You've flown down. I know you've had business here today, but like to just be here with you. I have from the beginning. So when I first came across your page on Insta, I was like, who is this guy? And your story, like you hear like let's say the power moments of your life, but you don't hear like what, everything. Do you get what I mean? Like that sounds a little bit weird, but
people see the shiny things.
Pardon?
People see the shiny things. And
the shiny things.
They don't see the back end.
That's it. You've gone to jail, and then they see that you're driving Ferraris and shit. And so it's the in-between stuff that I'm dying to hear, and I've purposely not done any research or a little bit of research.
I love that.
So
we just roll with it.
Yeah, but you are probably the best example of somebody who's gone from like nothing and completely transformed your life into something amazing.
Absolutely.
So grateful to have you here.
Thanks for having me. It's proof that if I can do it, anyone can do it. It just comes down to how bad you want it.
Exactly.
And I heard a good quote the other day. Everyone wants to go to heaven, but no one wants to die. I was like, oh, wow. And it's so true. You've got to literally kill your old self. Probably a bit extreme, but kill off your old self and then rebuild your new you. And I think most people don't want to do that because you've got to let go of friends, family. When I say let go, just out of time. And most people just don't want to do that. They're comfortable, they're happy. And I think once people understand that depth and what happens on the other side, the peace you want, the happiness, the financial freedom, I don't know what it is, but it happens.
Well, that's the part that I'm like dying to know. It's that mindset shift, because everyone that I've podcasted, there is this crazy childhood that they go through, and then there's a moment, and then they go into something more powerful. But before we get into that, I want to give a bit of a background about you and your life. Not everything, but some of it. So you correct me if I'm wrong. So you grew up in Redfern, which is one of the toughest neighbourhoods in Sydney. Is that right?
Absolutely. The
or
block
is it in the country?
Notorious. No, it was in the heart of the city. It was notorious. You jump into the cab and say, take me to Redfern, and they'd be like, get out. Oh. So police didn't want to drive in the area. Uni students were told to walk a whole different way, like a big route rather than they can get off, and the uni was so close. But in the end, what ended up happening, they'd tell them to go the long route because of the fear of something happening to themselves. Running riots with police, drugs, domestic violence, badge honour to go to jail. So it was a very notorious street for the wrong reasons. Oof. Crazy.
Damn. Okay, crazy. Because I've seen one of your YouTube clips. You've actually gone there and sort of went back to where you lived. And
very gentrified now and very plush is the word. But if you type in something like TJ Hickey riots, and anyone could Google that, you'll see how many people were up the top of the station up against police, throwing rocks, Molotov cocktails. Now, I don't condone that, but it's just how we grew up. And it gives you context of where we were and where I am now. And if I can do that, it's how you just rewire your mindset and how you shift and rebuild yourself. And as I said, I had to let go of all that. And that was all I ever knew. So I let go of all my friends, my family and extended family, and had to just go out to the world and do it by myself, and here we are.
Yeah. Crazy. So you got Aboriginal background?
Yes.
Yeah, full Aboriginal?
Father was Austrian-German.
Okay.
Mother was Aboriginal.
Yeah, okay. Okay, this explains the look because you've got a mix to you.
Yeah.
Okay. You are a survivor of childhood abuse at the hands of your father.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Ran away from home at 12.
Correct.
And then you became homeless. fell into crime as a means of survival and you spent 20 years in and out of maximum security prison.
Correct.
Oh my God. And then sadly, while you were in prison, you lost both parents to cancer.
Correct. Didn't get to say goodbye
Didn't
in
get
person, like
Yeah.
over the phone.
So you got to talk to them.
Father had brain tumours, so by the time it was the end, he was talking about Indians and aliens, and so he didn't really understand. But that was, the choices you made back then. I always thought I made bad choices, but I made uneducated choices. I was a 12-year-old kid on the streets. I was doing everything I could in survival mode. And I always say to people, imagine trying to set some goals when a lion's chasing you. The lion was chasing me on those streets. So for me, I just didn't. I was in survival mode, and I just went out and did what I had to do at the time. And until I got mature enough to be able to see things differently and got in proximity with people that were doing better things in life, whether it was relationships, how they manage their money, what role modelling was, what a man was, just didn't see it. Treated women wrong, to be straight out and real with yourself, because I needed to be validated. I wasn't good enough from my parents. Imagine I'm seeing you and I'm not good enough for you, so I want to see the next girl that texts me or spoke to me. And back then we didn't have phones actually. So it was just, it was constantly trying to chase that validation. And I relate it to social media now and how people chase that validation or the world. Look what I'm wearing or look what car I'm driving, rather than just being yourself. And for me, you spoke about the cars, the first class flights, all of the above. I do it to show people that, not to flex on people or not to, I think it's important to get people to understand no matter where you start, it's how you finish. And if I can do it, you can do it too. So I'm sitting in this car or flight or whatever it may be, house, then if I can do it, you can definitely do it too.
And I think it's not like what you're saying, it's the intention of putting that content out there, right? Like when I look at your stuff, I'm inspired because it's not just about the cars, whatever. It's like that journey of how did you get there? When I see a 20-year-old putting, that he's behind a, Ferrari or whatever it is, that doesn't inspire me, that doesn't impress me. And that I feel like is just trying to get that validation and attention from people, whereas that's not what I feel that you're doing at all.
Oh, great. And that's the intention of, I think for us, one of the most important things I learned over time was we always talk about being humble. And I speak about it on the videos quite a lot, where I'm not flexing on you. And a lot of people want me to be humble, but at the same time, I want to show you that if I can do this, why can't you? What is it that's holding you back, and how can I help you? Is it procrastination, anxiety, fear, doubt, what you've been told, or what you've been through in your head? How can we shift and change that? And that's the gist of my post.
It's belief system.
Yeah,
People's belief system. All right, so and then from there, just briefly, today you're a 7-figure mindset coach, entrepreneur, speaker, community leader. You've helped over 935,000 Australians. When you put it in a number like that, it's crazy.
Yeah. We haven't counted the number recent, and I just said to him the other day.
It's probably more than that.
Well, I asked him, I said, can you do the number again? Because we probably went past. I think just to be in front of 1 million people, and we've been in front of young kids that have been through custody, men that are in corrections, corporates, all these high flyers in a sense, athletes. We work with every club in the NRL as an example, and through the soldiers, ambulance workers, police officers, and be able to shift their mindsets around how they think and believe. And to me, you've just got to be able to understand human behaviour, and what I went through taught me human behaviour. You sit in a prison yard for 20 years, you see what human behaviour is, and little signs, signals, body language, twitches, you pick up on everything. When people are lying, pupils, the whole lot. I'll find out, and I did a lot of research while I was there and just understood humans. And I did a lot of research, to be honest, it was a survival skill. What was this bloke thinking? What was his pupil sitting like? How was he twitching? What was his normal behaviour versus the behaviour today? And you could pick up if someone had lost their partner or something, got over a phone call, and on it, you just see him, a little head nod, and you'd pick up on that, and that translated into us being able to help every single human on this planet, and happy days.
You would have to be hyper observant, like I guess being in jail and actually, because you don't know who's going to come and, get you from behind. And, I've got a really good friend of mine's in jail at the moment, and the stories that he tells me is just crazy because mentally he's very strong, but he's just always got to be on the lookout. So before I get into what jail life was like, I want to know how, like this process of how you got in there, right? So obviously we know childhood, there was a lot happening in that space. What was it like growing up for you?
It was just, I suppose you jump out that window at 12 years of age, you go on the street, and I want people to picture their kids at 12 or their nieces, nephews, or cousins or someone at 12 on the streets here in Melbourne or Sydney or Perth or Los Angeles, wherever people watch this from. And you think about that, it's just crazy. It's insane. And we just went out. We wanted food. Food led to finding the back door of a cafe open, finding a heap of money, and it sort of just went to, well, wait a sec, if it's in one shop, maybe it's in all shops. So we started to do break and enters, and then it sort of just transitioned. Each time I got locked up, I learned different skills. And my dad was always a very driven individual. So every time I went in, I had purpose. Talk to someone to switch off alarms, steal Porsches, whatever it was. So I was constantly learning these different things, connections with X, Y, and Z, and one thing led to another, and they just transition over time. 2003, we come down here to Melbourne with the crew of us. We were known as, by the police, conversation as the Sledgehammer Gang, travelling across Australia, robbing banks, which is what they state. We come down here, we rob a bank out at Blackburn, and unfortunately we were watched by the police rob the bank. Well, I shouldn't say unfortunately. I'd say now it was the most fortunate thing that ever happened to me.
Wow, really?
Like back then, I think if I kept going and I got arrested in New South Wales, I don't know what would have happened and if we'd be sitting in this space and place, because it's such a different prison system up there. And I'd only been out 6 months when I was arrested down here. So I think, and I'd just finished 5 years before that, and I knew if I got 5 for the last one, I was going to get longer for this one down here. We robbed that bank. We get away with the money, 250K, cleaned everything out, smashed the vault open.
In this?
Four in this crew.
In this crew, okay.
So we get 250K. We go into the city thinking everything's hunky-dory, and next thing I'm on the ground with a gun at the back of my head, and I'm thinking, well, they don't know much because what are they going to prove? I'll be able to get off this. But in the end, they had a whole heap of surveillance. They watched us actually rob the bank, go to the stolen car. And at the time, as I said, mate, to be honest with you, I'd been out 6 months. I started to build a good relationship with my kids again. And I was sitting in the cells down here. It's called the Yellow Submarine because it's sort of arched like a submarine. Lights stay on all night. And under my blankets, tears would roll down my eyes for my kids. And, I think it was just like, I think I'm done with this. I've had enough. And if I can get off, I'll get off. The potential for me to get off came about. Asked the boys during my trial. I did a month's trial at the district court here, and then ended up being found guilty. And as I drove back to Port Phillip Prison at the time, which was a remand centre then, I just broke down in the back of the truck and I was like, man, I think I'm done in this life. I'm going to let go of everyone, including the crew that I was friends with since we were kids. And that same crew kept going on, and they got 19 years with 17 years on the bottom for more bank robberies, armour guards up in Sydney. So they're currently in and out of jail. They've been through that 5 years of hell because they're going through these trials, and they go back September this year. And I wish them all the best. They're still, they're still childhood friends, and we were just uneducated. And I suppose, you look back on it now, would I have done that life if I was shown the right way? No way. But it's made me who I am, and let's just roll with that and make good of it.
Yeah,
and,
well, I guess that's why
you
say you're grateful now that you went through, that I guess you got busted and you went down that path. So what made you jump out of the window?
Like, what was happening at home?
Yeah.
What was dad, mum?
I think Dad was, Dad had been, I found out later that Dad had been through 3 different types of, different moments of abuse. His priest, his teacher and his father, all physical. So he just passed it straight on to me. And it was his form of discipline coming out of the war, coming from, moving to Australia. He's got big balls to be able to jump on a boat or, and come across here, didn't speak the language, get across here and have a crack at life. I have got respect for him. And he was just built from what he knew, and he just passed that on to me. And I just went, enough's enough. I grew up violent from it. I was like, you want to fight? I had no problem in that. I'm not the biggest of blokes compared to some of the blokes, especially in jail, but I had huge heart. And what he put me through made me very tough, and translated into the life I chose. But it also makes me tough now to make the right decisions as well.
Well, you've got a good balance of empathy and emotion versus, I guess, logic. Because I guess being in prison for that amount of time, you would have had to, like being hyper observant, you would have to, really understand logically what somebody's going through or what's happening in a situation. So you would have a really good balance of both. And what about mum?
Mum was on the block, obviously, at the time. The block was very notorious. Aboriginal people gone through the stolen generation. There was a lot of fracture. Imagine, I come in, I know you got kids, and I take your kids and split you up, and sometimes when you never see those kids again. They pursued their mother, and their mother died by the time they found them. So it was a very hard time, and I know their emotional regulation was drugs, alcohol, and loud music and whatever else that they indulged in, and that sort of just transferred down the line into the community. I was very lucky in one sense. When I say lucky, probably not luck would be the word, but when we were about 13, we had 4 girls that overdosed really quickly and unfortunately never made it from our community. So it really scared me off drugs. I was like, I'm not going to get into that side of things. And I was always fit. Dad kept me fit. So it just sort of was a no-brainer. Fast forward, Mum had leukemia many years later, and 28 and one night out and about, used to go out drinking just like anybody else, but just had enough. She was told she was going to die, and I decided to sort of go down the path of the recreational drug, and I only take it on weekends and party, and I can control it. By the time I was down here on bail, I was partying every single night, and it was just a lifestyle, trying to deal with the emotions, I suppose, of a court case pending, losing parents, and so many other things that were happening within life.
So dad passed first?
Mum passed first. Mum passed first. Dad passed when I was locked up down here. Both of them passed away. Like Mum had 2 months before the end of my 5-year sentence, and Dad passed away with 3 months before the end of the 7-year sentence. So it was, and you just don't get to see them often. I think they both died, and they never saw none of this. So they both died knowing that I was a criminal, and probably going to, in their eyes, stay that way because I'd been that for 20 years in and out. And I think that's sad. Like, I would have sped up their time to the grave. Dad had a brain tumour, no doubt a lot of stress from not being there, getting locked up. But we had some good times when I was down here. I got back into soccer and I played down here, and he came out and watched me play. I played when I was a kid at a fairly high level, so got back into that. He came down, he watched me, so I got good memories too of making him sort of prouder at the end. And he didn't know I was actually had a court case down here. I said I moved down here for work, and
So he had no idea.
I just didn't want to break his heart again. And but he knew I'd got locked up and got sentenced. I'd spoken to him because over 7 years, and you can't take that back, but you can always just our people believe in the spirit of us walking this planet long after we're gone. I just hold faith in that he's still present and seeing what I'm doing in this day and age.
How do you, how did you find the empathy and the kindness for him and this mindset for him when, I guess, you were saying like as a child, possibly didn't give you what you needed. So how do you find that empathy? Like where did that come from?
I seek to understand because I didn't understand it, and most people don't you treat me bad, and I don't seek to understand why maybe it's a hormonal thing as a female, but maybe it's something that's happening in the background that I don't even know about. And that could be in marriages. Some people can't even talk in marriages. And I'm like, wait a second, in a marriage you should be having good conversations about anything and everything and being supportive of one another at this point in time. Obviously for me back then that wasn't the case, but it's when you seek to understand, you can understand from a deeper level. And then even if, you feel you've done everything right and you're going at me as your partner, you've got to then still dive deep on yourself and ask yourself why or how can I be better at the next opportunity for you? So if you see it that way, how can I, but also we, get a better outcome for the best interest and outcome of the environment? And you can picture a circle, and in that circle, you and I or somebody and somebody else, whether it's in business, life, sport, or whatever it may be, and how can you get the best interest and outcome from that environment by seeking to understand, but also reflecting on yourself? Because I'll be like, how dare she talk to me? I've always done the best by her. And you deflect onto yourself, and then we just play a game of tennis, game of insult. And to me, it's just look at yourself and say, what she said, so what I heard, how could I be better at the next opportunity so this doesn't come up again? And that way you close down anything that person might be built of as well, where it continues to come up and eventually crushes the relationship.
Yeah. Oh. You've got siblings.
Yeah.
Right? And
7.
7 siblings.
Yeah.
So did they grow up similar? Because I know a couple of them have passed now.
Sure. Yeah, a couple passed. I had one passed last year from lung cancer.
Yeah.
All went through, the males all went through the jail system. The 2 sisters didn't. They did well. One big shout out to my sister. She was a champion jockey. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but she was great. She's great.
And I know a couple have taken their own life. Is that right?
Yeah,
One of your brothers, one of your sisters. Yeah. So were you incarcerated when that happened?
I was out for both of those, which made it sort of even worse because I lived with my brother at the time, and then he'd gone back to Melbourne. We were playing AFL. I took up AFL when I was down here. Loved it. Great sport, best sport. Those that want to argue, I've played all sports: soccer, rugby union, rugby league, and AFL. And AFL is just fun. You're always in the play. Anyway, that's enough. He comes back for AFL, goes out the Bendigo, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, just couldn't talk to us, and get a phone call that at the back of our uncle's house during the middle of the day. So it's just, I think it hurts more that your brother doesn't talk to you, and we're playing footy together, man, and I didn't see anything, and I looked through his social media pages after it, and there's only one where he said, if life is this hard, death must be easier. And our cousin wrote on it, and I was like, well, why didn't you tell me that? Yeah. And he goes, I thought you would have seen it. And I was like, a lot of people, I think, got a different perception of what I do on social media, which means that I think they think I sit on it all day. Just so everyone's clear, I post and I get off. And I write as much as I can. And it's not because I'm better than anyone. I just want better in my life.
Absolutely. And, he would have really hid that because you grew up and, as we mentioned, like being hyper observant. So you would have known, you would have gotten a feeling, you would have detected something. But for you to say, I had no idea. This is why I'm such a big advocate for men's mental health, because I just go, yeah, you guys are really good actors. You can really hold that shit in and no one will know anything. And I really appreciate that, the work that you do, because it's just going, talk. It's just having that that voice to say, doesn't matter what you've gone through, like you're not going to be weak to speak about it. If anything, you're going to be stronger and a better person, and there's power in that.
Oh, that's how I changed my life. Vulnerability is strength. I always say that, vulnerability is strength. But what we perceive is, if I tell you the ugly version of me, even say I met you out and I tell you the ugly version, you're like, I'm out, see you later, what a wank job, right? But if you show somebody the good version of yourself and who you truly are, or where you've had, the change or the person you are, and then you can talk about, hey, here's how I used to be. Now, I've found that partners I've had over the years have embraced that and just said, you know what, unbelievable person. And it's not, your past doesn't define who you are now. And even then, violence versus non-violence now, but be that vulnerable human. And it's hard as a bloke, if you be vulnerable, you're weak. The biggest thing we always say, get around your mates as men. Get around your mates by saying, you can say anything at any time and I will never think any different of you. Like, oh, I'm not feeling the best. Oh, you're weak and you're not part of our crew anymore or something of that nature. We should be able to get out there and actually have that conversation and, put our arm around one another and say, bro, I love you, man. And little tip on that, I text people, ring people every single day. So I might scroll, if it hits your number, hey, what's happening? And just number came up, I'm giving you a quick call, checking in, how's the podcast going? Or something, and it just makes someone feel good. Scroll again, text the other person, do that once a day. I did it last year and there was a bloke, young kid, Jackson Tippett, big shout out. And, Jax for me, it was funny because, not funny, I was in Turkey, weirdly enough, and I made these calls and I did a video on the back end of that, to say, ring your mates, because there's a lot of people checking out from this planet. And on that video that I actually posted, the call that doesn't answer was Jax. And he didn't answer me. And it was the last time I ever tried him. And I shot him a message, hey, brother, just shooting you quick. You tried to call you. Hope you're well. And then unfortunately lost his life in Turkey just after I left. And caught up with him in Bali before that too. So it was just sometimes, one call could save somebody's life and redirect somebody's life. And we all have these friends in our phones, but ask yourself, how many times have you actually rang beyond the frequently called people, what's the point of having them in your phone? Just delete everybody else and have those that you frequently contact, or go through that phone and do something magical, man, and make someone's day.
I love that. I love that you make that a priority, because life is busy, right? And everybody is constantly like, I've got this to do, I've got this to do, got this. And the fact that you make that a priority in your day is just so powerful. Thank you.
Text
doing that.
When the shower's warming up, text somebody, right?
Yeah,
maybe. And then
cool.
When you get in the car, ring somebody. I don't know. It's not, that's me personally, it's not hard to find the time. We always say we're too busy, but if you had a cancer treatment like my mother, I guarantee she wasn't good with time, but she made sure she was at every treatment. So you've just got to say, this is a priority to myself, whether it's your partner, your kids, the business, life, travel, whatever it is. Prioritise it and make sure that when you're in it, be in it.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I'll go on airplane mode even in business. And they're like, are you joking? Someone wants me to talk or run a program or long-term program through an organisation, they'll find me. And if they don't, it wasn't meant to be. I'm cool with that.
When was the moment that changed for you in, I guess, whether you were incarcerated or, whatever age, where you decided you're going to be better?
Probably 16, to be honest.
At 16?
I reckon it was 16, but I was so entrenched in, and I was making a lot of money. I was very well known. And when you're in the criminal world, like you see the underworld stories that came out of Melbourne as an example, and the notoriety around it. I wasn't one that wanted the notoriety. I actually got a block on. Every time we got arrested, I made sure I had a suppression order put on my name so my name wasn't published in the paper. Oh. And so my name, if you research it around, other than the articles now about who I was to who I am now, no one ever knew. I was home for 12 years. No one knew I was a bank robber. I had a TV show.
Jeez,
no one knew anything.
You did that well.
Partners and all until
it became something useful, I guess, in a sense of your story. And
it was great. And funnily enough, another bloke that passed, 4 men who had huge influence on social media passed away last year. Russell Manser came to me and said, Morgs, you got to tell your story. I swear everyone will love your story. They don't even know who you are. And I was like, I don't need to. I'm sweet and I've made good in life and I'm happy. Mm-hmm. He said, no, we inspire others to greatness, even outside of crime. And so big love to him. He passed suddenly last year. You had Kerwin Ray, another one. who was unbelievable and taught me so much that I'll continue to pass on. My grandmother taught me your spirit will forever walk this planet through the knowledge that you acquire from somebody else. I pass that on to my kids. If you teach me something, they teach the next generation, and your knowledge and spirit continues to walk this planet. So Kerwin, big love to him. And same thing, it's sad that these men disappeared. All these men had influence on millions of people, and it's just it shows you cherish every moment, but live every day like it's your last, and make the most of it, and get out and live how you want to live.
Absolutely.
Think about it like this, and this is for everybody that watches this. Write out if you had a week to go, what would you do? And then you say, I'd be with my family, I'd go to Disneyland, I'd go, whatever it is, swim in the Barrier Reef, I don't know. If you look at it, what's different to your life now? Total difference. Why aren't you doing it? And then people say it's not real. And I'm like, well, if you tell yourself it's not real, you'll believe that it's not achievable. If you tell yourself, I'm going to find a way, just like if you had cancer and you needed to get to that appointment, you'll find a way. So my advice to everybody out there, go and find what's important to you, prioritise that and live it every single day and watch what happens. Give it a year.
Because you run programs now. Like one of, I guess, after, so 16 years old, you knew that something needed to change. So when you were in prison, did you go, this is what I'm going to do with my future? Like how did that happen? Because you were in and out of jail then. So
it was funny because I did it all, to be honest and real. We grew up in the block was notorious. So if you were from Redfern, even the jails knew you, the police knew you, the prisoners knew you. And I knew that it was hard to get parole, so I'd go in and do computers, or I'd go in business studies, or anything and everything, right? So when parole came up, they'd say, oh, he's been a model prisoner, send him out again. And I'd get out when I'm meant to get out. And I was doing it just to get parole, to be straight out and honest. And over time, as I did it, I just started to rewire new neurons in the brain. And obviously, my first response started to become an old response, and I started to see life differently. And it was a mixture of the sum of all things: kids, marriage, starting to become educated, maturing, seeing a different way of life. Technology was catching up to the criminal world. So many cameras, so many DNA, fingerprint. Like, it was just ridiculous. So I was putting it all together, and then there was people that were killing other people for the money that they had, and I just and there was so mmany dog eat dog moments.
Yeah.
You know, your partner gets locked up, and then I'm sleeping with you, and then he comes after. Like, it was all toxic, and
no loyalty, no trust. Yeah.
You reckon jail was hypervigilant? Wait till you're outside and free, and many people can understand this. People might think my 20 years of jail is crazy, but people have to be so hyper-vigilant out here because of the way they're treated from their partners or the way they treat themselves, that they end up in a prison behind their own eyes. And once you understand that conversation, then you can say, shit. I literally get goosebumps when I say that every time. Because people,
powerful.
People do. I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. Oh, it's a bit fearful. Oh, people are going to judge me. When you just don't truly give her, then... But you get to a very dangerous position. That was what was on my side from the get-go as a bank robber. You jump a bank counter, you don't give a... You just do what you got to do. And so when I go after something, I'm going to get what I want. And I think that's the biggest thing. Most people don't want to do that because, oh, you're going to judge me, or I'm too good for you now, or I can't do that, or I don't know how to do that. I'm just like, let's find a way how to do it.
Just out of curiosity, how many banks did you actually rob?
So I got charged for 2 and arrested for 2, so two bank robberies.
Okay. We don't talk about anything else. 2 it is. I
will say on that,
go.
just really quickly, I think you just got to do your best to give back to the world.
Yes.
And that's all I can say. Like, I might, because people might, he's still cheeky about it. I think you just got to be as best you can with what you got. And I think I've done so much to change nearly 1 million people's lives.
Yeah.
That's just where I'm putting my energy into. Yeah. So 2 banks, and I say that respectfully to everybody out there.
Yeah, but also I guess your childhood was set up to, and I say this with all due respect, but set up for failure, because it was like you didn't have like there was no light at the end of the tunnel. It was, I'm guessing the community is all, majority of them are incarcerated. So,
Absolutely.
so if that is the way that
Male
life
and
is,
female.
pardon?
Male and female.
Yeah. So if that's the way that life is set up, then you did the best with what you had because you were in survival mode. Whereas now you have transformed and you've taken every lesson that you've learnt and every skill, I guess, that you had to learn, and you've used it to better yourself. So, you know, I think that what you've done now and who you are becoming in the world, and, you know, we're always growing and learning, but it's remarkable. Like I really have a lot of admiration. I'm so inspired by you. So, but tell me about business now, right? So you've got your organisation that you run 2 programs, is that right? Well, you tell me.
So we do a lot around corporate leadership, and there's a whole heap of stuff behind it. You know, you look at burnout now, stress and time management, emotional intelligence, obviously teamwork, but in amongst that, personal development and business development as well. Personal development, you can have the nicest person in there, but if they're built from their past, they're going to dysfunction in a business, and that creates a spot fire. And now I've got a headache. I've got to go and sort it out with yourself, then the next person. So even then, building systems within businesses that don't have those, so that those spot fires become less and less until it's functioning at a high level. So we travel the globe doing that, and it's something then you get into, at the corporate level, then you get into community sort of projects, and that's more like people that are built similar to myself, and most people built that way, to be honest. We don't have much personal development. It's become a thing now, meditation and journaling, and I was doing a lot of that. I still got all the journals, and I'll publish those in the books. They'll be insane. Some people can read those and stuff I was writing. I was like, wow.
When you're incarcerated?
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, how did I even think that way? I'm impressed. Like I was like, but then I look back to my father and a letter he wrote, and I was able to get my hands on through an email that was sent to me from the courts, and like I just went, that's where I got it from. And I think it was just, but now the personal development of an individual help any environment, and that could be any relationship in this world, not just marriages or boyfriend girlfriend stuff. It's more what type of relationship as a friend. Do you have boundaries? Most of us don't. Friend will treat us like shit, and we'll keep them in the space because they'll give us our time. During that hard breakup, they were there for me always. But now, they're letting you down. They're not showing up. They've borrowed money off you that they don't pay back. They've disrespected you. But because of that moment, you keep them in that space. And we've got to get in this habit of, and that's why the world's so dysfunctional. Yeah. Because everyone just is and I mean it nicely, at a standard that's, she's nice. She helped me through what about this and what about that? Oh, mate, are you trying to cause trouble in our friendship? And I'm like,
constantly, we're programmed now to look at the red flags in everything.
It's crazy.
And this is why I try to raise some kind of awareness in dating and relationships, because we're going to end up I guess our population is going to continue to decrease because no one's getting together and, getting married anymore or having babies or whatever, because they're constantly looking at red flags. Like, I always say, have your non-negotiables. You have 3 or 4 non-negotiables, and then the ones that you're happy to, work on, and you go from there. Like, I can't handle this.
I think if you got those non-negotiables, then that's important. And even then, values, morals, beliefs, and then you can, does that person sit inside that on outside of your circle? And if they sit outside, that's cool. It does mean that, once again, you're better than the person. You just want a better match to who you are. And it's like if you want to hike every weekend and I don't, you want to go clubbing, I don't, you smoke, I don't. Well, at some point in time, it's going to cause too much friction, and the love at the start, or the lust at the start into what's perceived as love through intimacy, will eventually die off through these constant bits of friction, and eventually you'll part ways. If we can have those non-negotiable set standards, and I always call them what you were talking about before, lessons that become blessings from your past or other people's past. If your future is in your past, and when you understand that title, your future is in your past, it means that we perceive our past as a bad thing. And you cheat on me, and I'm like, stuff her, she's no good. You could extract, say we're together 1 year. In a year, you wasn't together with that person for a year for no reason. There's high quality stuff within that person. Extract that, put it into yourself. Same thing as a female. If I say Trump or Tate, people were like, even your face now. You're like, what, Trump or Tate? But could we learn business off them, or could we learn how to make money? If you can understand for the best interest and outcome of the environment, I can close everything off. They're not my person, but they can teach me a lot about business or something of that nature. Then you'll come into your future from your past as a better person and a better way of life. And people just don't understand that. And, she done that to me, stuff her, and she's nothing but this, that, and the other. Rather than saying, actually, she was great mother, she held herself well, she dressed well, whatever it is. And I wasn't, I didn't get that role modeling to know what that was like, and I actually take those and plug them into myself. Do I want the cheating part? No. So I just brush that to the side, and now you've taken some goodness out of your past that you perceive as a bad thing that's stored in your limbic brain that then goes through a trigger, a song, which then sends you through feelings, emotions, actions, reaction. That's the truest form of fear. And by the end of it, you've put weight on, you're sitting in your bedroom, you're isolating from society, and now you're on this roller coaster of emotion that just goes through this vicious cycle. Change your life. See things differently.
Yeah. Are you a big visualizer?
Huge. You can't do a bank robbery without visualizing something. Yeah. And I always
That's true.
everything's, but it's relatable. So if you can visualize that, you can visualize, say it's a heist, and the heist is you want to, do a heist, but the heist is you're going to find peace. I'm going to take all the peace out there in the world and no one's going to stop me. It means that you're listening to podcasts, reading books, surrounding yourself with people of peace, and you end up, stealing all these bits of information that you plug into yourself and add value to yourself over time, and you'll be a person of peace.
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to, and it might be an adventure for yourself, to see it differently and see it as a heist when you go out to the world to acquire that knowledge.
Well, yeah, it's funny that you say it's related to robbing a bank, but I know that people have, I guess, of your status where they've, gone through trauma or whatever it is, and then come out to be quite successful. Every person that I've podcasted has always said visualization is massive in their world, and this is the one thing I'm learning about successful people is manifestation and visualization. That is the one quality, or one skill that they learn to develop to become someone or something or get what they want, or so I'm sure even though as a kid you would have done it in a different capacity, I have no doubt you still do it now.
Manifestation back then, money, visualization, what happens, what could happen, try to minimize or negotiate the environment to make sure soldiers go to war, they don't just go in and walk into a village and hope that it's okay. They do their recon and all of the above to make sure that they're at their safest and they put themselves in the right positions. We had to do the same. I call it the MVP model: manifestation, visualization, and then prioritization. And at that point in time, say we're at war and people are shooting over there, prioritization is get for cover or whatever it may be. In life, what is the priority at that point in time once you've done the manifestation, visualization? What do you need to do? And the prioritization is to start to let people down. And people are like, what? What did you say? And or even learn, I'll teach you how to fail. And they're like, what? And if I teach you how to fail, what it means is that you're trying and you're moving in the right direction. And if you have never been in a position where you even tried, well, then how will you know what failing feels like? And most people think once you fail, it's all over. Once you understand that failing is a part of the process, but even then, shift the words, change the language, change the outcome. They're lessons that become blessings. And if I'm talking negative to the person on the other side, do you want to hang around that person? No. But if I'm bringing light and space and peace and love to a space, people are more than likely going to hang out and want to be around that type of go-getter. On that subject, big shout out to the Derrimut gym owner.
Nick.
Yeah, he was gun.
He
I
was-
love your story, man. And
Yeah.
man, if you're ever in Sydney, hit me up, grab a coffee.
Yeah, he was powerful.
He's
His story, unbelievable.
Powerful.
And you know, his mindset was, even till now, I'm really inspired by it, because he was just like, you know, there's so much lack of belief that so many people have, and they rely on external things to make you feel better. But he was very much about, like, there's no grey area.
Love that.
This is what you want, you get what you want. Like, I don't get what the problem is here. So it was really cool too.
It's like weights. If you go out and you want to lift a weight, you're going to do it if you have to, and you're the only one in the gym and the bar got stuck on your chest, you're going to have to lift it off or you're going to die, one of the two.
That's it.
And a lot of people don't realise that conversation, and find an excuse to that conversation. I can't lift that.
No.
Or if I put the bar on top of your chest, will you lift it? And they'd say, probably. And I said, well, you've just shifted your mindset in a quick second. So,
Well, I call it the inspiration of desperation. It is, that shit gets you far.
I watched a video for 2 years straight when I first come home. How Bad Do You Want It on YouTube, if anyone wants to watch it. It's a dude doing push-up on artificial grass, the thumbnail. And there's one message in it, and the one message was, if I was to take you out to see this businessman, he wants to be like him. He goes, meet me down at the beach tomorrow morning, meets him there, wear your suit, drags him out in the water. Not drags him out, walk out to the water with me, and then at that point starts to drown him. And the kid's punching, screaming, doing everything he can to get a breath, you know. And he lets him up finally. He goes, are you crazy, to the old man? And he says, when you want something as bad as you want to breathe, you'll find a way, you know, pretty much was and that's, we just don't get to that level unless we're that desperate like you just spoke about. So find that desperation, and inspiration will come from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know you have a flight to catch.
So
So I'm going to ask you one last question. If everybody in the world saw this, what is one message that you would want to give?
If I can, you can, man. Like, it'll come down, excuses that are nails have built the house of failure. And if you keep using the excuses that put you in the position you're currently in, and they've caused you the feelings and emotions you don't want within your life, and you're surrounded with people that treat you like shit, and you're disrespecting your own self, then you've got to ask yourself, if you're 20 years of age, what's going to happen for the next 20 years? And if you think that I'm too old now, you're never going to be younger than today, my biggest bit of advice is just start and find out what happens as you're starting to move. Will you make mistakes in your eyes, or fail, or F up, or whatever you want to call it? Guaranteed. If you're around proximity of people who have done it before you, I guarantee they'll show you if you can, if I can, or they have, then you can too. So do yourselves a favour, be around eagles. And I mean this nicely, I don't really class it as a person, because people have been offended by this, but be around eagles rather than be around bin chickens. And what I mean by that is bin chickens are just going to accept the standard of rubbish, and no one on this planet should accept that standard. When you're around eagles, you'll fly high. And that, whether it's in relationships, your thoughts, your behaviours, your beliefs, your actions, relationships, whatever it may be, and that's a better way of life. That's my totem, Mullion, and that's how I'd like to finish. If I can, you can.
Mic drop. Oh, God, I love that. Jeffrey Morgan, fucking the one and only. I love
Thanks,
it. I
Amy.
appreciate it. I'm so excited to see the rest of this journey of yours and the incredible things that you're going to do and the people that you're going to inspire, especially young men. You're a blessing. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you having me on, and congrats to you for starting, because we spoke and you sort of started and then you stopped, and
I know.
make sure you keep doing it. And this is a last message for everybody. Don't listen to anyone but yourself, because no one knows you better than you, and they don't know whether you can do it or not. Only you can prove to yourself that you can or you can't. And I guarantee if you try, you will.
That's it, and that's it. When I started doing these podcasts, I had I think 200 people that were friends of mine. I don't even know how you came across my stuff or I came across you, and I was just like, somebody had gave me the advice they said, well, what, because I said, I'm trying to like build a business here. They're like, well, what's podcasting doing for you? You're spending so much time and so much effort. Are you making any money? And I was like, no, it's just a passion. I just love it. And they were like, well, it's a waste of time. And I listened. And that was my biggest mistake, because you don't realize what comes to you when you actually take the step. And, you know, even just podcasting, I actually just went up to Nick and said, like, and I say this not in a negative sense, but I'm a nobody. Like, I just went up to him and I just said, would you want to come on a podcast? And he was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. And so from him, just, you know, I guess the domino effect from there has been insane. And I've got another few people coming up, which is going to be really cool.
I'll send you some too, just to support you and make sure that, you know, and some good people too. So I just want to see people win, and good people want to see good things happen to other people. And that's it.
And like what you were saying before about who you surround yourself with, that is probably the most powerful advice, because the people that do want to see even me get better are the ones that are going, here, I've got someone for you, podcast this person. The ones that either I have a bit of jealousy, they still haven't followed my page. And I'm like, that's okay. That's all right. But now I understand.
It's not your business.
It's not my business.
I always say what someone says about you is not your business. How you respond is the awareness of yourself. If you just be the superstar of your own life, then that's all that matters. And, you know, I know you got a child. Your child's going to see that and say, she can, I can. With that, I just did want to say really quickly, surround yourself with people that will talk good things, lift you up, introduce you to people, and being around those people, you'll hear conversations on these couches that are going to see and help you think differently and allow you to live a different way of life. And, you know, that's money in the bank organically. But on the backside of that, a lot of people won't do things because the return of investment straight away isn't there. But you do this over a period of time, who knows where it takes you. You could become the biggest podcast in Australia, and I wish you nothing, and anybody else that takes that path, nothing but success and best wishes, and I'll help you as much as I can.
Thank you. I always said I'm going to be the next Oprah of Australia. I have my own TV show.
Do it and be
That's what's happening. You'll come on, yeah?
I'll come on straight away.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.